after Roman and Grace visit Aunt Elizabeth, Grace shares her experience about an angel visiting her as a child, which opened her heart to the Lord. Have you or a friend ever had a supernatural experience like this? If you are comfortable doing so, share it with the group. Am I comfortable doing so? Okay, so like I said in question 7, Roman was helped Grace to mend the broken fences with her aunt Elizabeth. So when during the road trip that Roman and Grace had, as I explained earlier, they got to visit Aunt Elizabeth. And then while there, Grace shared with Roman the experience of an angel visiting her as a child. So after her, a little backstory, Grace's father killed her mother and killed himself. So Grace became an orphan in one day. Grace knew her father had a violent streak in him or something. And that day, something happened that made Grace's father to take things out on her mother. And Grace's mother had hidden her in the closet and told her, be a good girl, we are playing hide and seek, daddy is coming home, we don't want to get daddy angry. And she entered the closet playing hide and seek, afraid, until when mom was going to call her. And Grace heard her parents have an argument, and then she heard a big thud on the ground, boom, or something like that. And the next thing, she was still there, scared, whatever, whether she cried or something. And then her father heard her, came to the closet, opened the door, and saw her. Grace thought the father was going to beat her or whatever, slap her, shout at her or whatever. But the man just left, and the next minute he had shot himself. She heard a gunshot. It took a while before they could find her in the closet, actually. And they had to cover her eyes so she would not see the 2 dead bodies on the ground. So that's the backstory to that. So after that happened, Grace had to go live with her aunt Elizabeth. And for the first few nights, Grace could not sleep at night. She was scared of sleeping alone. She was scared of the dark. She was afraid that something was going to happen to her. Every time her aunt would lay her on the bed to sleep, she would go back to the closet to go and hide. Or she would hide under the bed or in the closet, one of those 2 places. And then her aunt would come the next morning and you did not sleep in your bed, why didn't you sleep in your bed? And blah 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 blah, beat her, whatever that, and all of that. Until one day, Grace had an experience of an angel sit with her and told her, sleep, I'm watching you all through the night. And that's how she slept in her bed till the next morning. She told her aunt, but her aunt did not believe her. So she told Roman that story on the trip. And she was like, that angel coming to visit her was the beginning of walking or having a relationship with the Lord, because it made her open and receptive to the word of God. Because at that young age, she began to feel that God actually sees her, and God actually hears her, and God knows how she feels and is always ready to comfort her. So yes. Okay, so the sub question says, have you or a friend ever had a supernatural experience like this? If you are comfortable doing so, share it with the group. Okay, so I have a friend that had an experience like this, but I can't remember the full details of the story now, and I do not want to add or subtract to what she said, so I'll just leave it like that. But yes, I've heard of supernatural experiences like this. Okay, one just came to mind now. I don't know. Okay, let me share it. So someone once gave a testimony in church, and I can't remember now if it was a he or a she, but the person said that the person was cooking with a kerosene stove and the kerosene finished and the person was still cooking. And it was in a time when there was a bit of kerosene scarcity, or the price has increased high. One of those two things were happening at that period. Either kerosene was scarce or the price has increased so high. And so this fellow said, oh God, I don't have money to buy kerosene now. Or whether there was no kerosene, I can't really tell now, because it's been a long time since I heard the story. But whatever it was, there was no way for the person to get kerosene at that moment. And so the person just prayed and said, God, I'm cooking and I need kerosene to cook, and this is the weekend and I can't get kerosene. What am I going to do? A person now said, okay, I'm going to put water in my stove. Lord, turn this water to kerosene. Until I'm able to buy kerosene. So this fellow put water in the stove. For context, that period was a time when we were trying to manage kerosene. So whenever we use kerosene stove, then we are going to put a plastic plate inside the stove, because the stove was quite wide enough to contain a plate. So we put a plastic plate inside the stove and put kerosene inside. That way the ropes of the stove, that is the stove wicks, can quickly get to the kerosene and light up, instead of putting it into the main container, into the stove itself, and it might take a while for the rope to soak up the kerosene, thus making your kerosene to finish faster. So that was a trick we used then that always worked. So this fellow put water into the plates and put it inside the stove. And if you know anything about stove ropes, if you've ever used a stove before, you would know that if water soaks your wick, it will take forever to dry out. And even when it has dried out and you put kerosene into your container, it will take a while for the rope to soak up the kerosene and light properly again. So this fellow puts water into the can, put it into the kerosene stove, lighted the matches, and it came up. Use this stove to cook on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday. Oh my God. And then on Monday, when the person had money to buy the kerosene, when he tried to light the stove, the thing did not light again. A 3 days wonder. That was a supernatural experience if you ask me. It doesn't have to be an angel falling from the sky, because what in the name is your stove rope lighted to water for 3 days? And then when you now bought the kerosene, the thing stop. It's like the children of Israel in the Bible, that God was giving them manna, and on the day they entered the land of Canaan and ate the first fruit from Canaan, manna disappeared. Okay. Please ignore my laughter, but I'm processing it in my head, and I'm like, wow, that's why I'm laughing.